Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody. It's been a few weeks since you've heard from us. Again, it's the off-season. Bear with us. I know we make the joke that the NFL off-season never ends, but it's not as busy as it is for 17 weeks throughout the regular season, right? So right now it's every week, every other week, just depending on when we can get in here. But I will say this. We have not gone over our winners and losers of the draft, so that'll be fun to talk about. I know you said you have a few questions, but we're here. How you doing, Mark?
Good. And just it's the NBA playoffs and hockey playoffs are in full swing. I know in hockey, a few teams, all the games that are tonight are all 2-2, which is shocking because I thought, some of them were going to be blowouts. The Avalanche did sweep their series, but the Avalanche are the best team in hockey.
By far.
But it's almost, I think every series in hockey is 2-2, except for that. I think Calgary's 3-1 now.
Yeah.
But everybody else is 2-2. Everybody is just so evenly matched in hockey playoffs.
Yeah, what I've noticed, too, is you have a lot of teams that it's not even always evenly matched games. You've had a lot of games where, teams are just playing good one week, and then the next game they're just garbage. With the Capitals, they had a really good win, and then next week they just didn't even show up. It's there's a lot of teams in the playoffs like that. If you want to win, you got to play like the Avalanche are playing, or at least close enough, because if any team, especially the Capitals, go against the Avalanche, no offense, Caps fans, I've watched a few of the playoff games, they're going to lose 4-0. 0-4. And that's the thing. You have to be consistent if you want to win games.
Right. The NBA playoffs, it's the Final Four in both divisions, East and West.
It's called the semifinal.
2-2. Every single series is 2-2. Every series, the Sixers Heat has been home and home so far. Bucks Celtics has been 1-1, 1-1. Each has won a game on the road. The Mavericks, very plucky against the Suns. They're playing them very well.
Yeah.
Which I love to see. I'm a fan of the Suns. I think they've built their team right, and it's their time. But I also think they're running into teams that are just too good. This Mavericks team is really good too.
I think to me a lot with the Suns, the Suns are kind of reminding me. I'm trying to think of a good comparison. I don't want to compare them to the Suns of years ago or the way the Clippers were, but or the Lakers last few years. The Suns to me have so much talent, but they get right there and they lose. The last 3 years, I know they have Ayton and I know they have Booker, but they kind of remind me of the Clippers a few years back with Doc Rivers, right? 4 or 5 straight years, conference semifinals, and you just didn't make it to the finals. And unfortunately, even if they make it, they're one of the best teams in the country right now. I still think they're just not. I still think they're missing something.
I'm still a firm believer, and I know Chandler and Malik, who are big basketball guys, they get mad at me. I'm not a believer in Chris Paul.
Yeah,
Chris Paul being able to lead a team or even make it to a finals.
Well, he's the 7th or 8th best player on the team. I don't think he's the leader.
He's definitely their leader.
Yeah,
he's not their best player, but he's their leader.
Obviously, being a point guard, it runs through him, but I don't think he can lead a team. I think it needs to go through the younger, more talented players.
Yeah. Golden State is up 3-1 against Memphis. That series has been, it's been brutal. It's been tough. The Warriors are playing a physical style of basketball, which I like to see.
Yeah.
They're letting them play, which is I've always been a fan of. But I think it's all going to come down to, for the East, whoever wins the Celtics-Bucks series.
Yep.
I think both the 76ers and the Heat are frauds. I don't think they're very good.
I don't think they're better than I don't think they're better than the Celtics or the Bucks. And I think the Celtics and the Bucks are clearly the two best teams in the East. And it's unfortunate they're playing each other, but it's also fortunate we get to watch them because they should be the two teams playing in the finals of the East right now. But they're not, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then I would love to see a Suns Warriors matchup. Just to see that, I think that would just be fun to watch. And also, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is I get home so early now from work that I've just been watching and catching up on a bunch of stuff. So, but that's the playoff picture there. If you're into baseball, the rich teams are winning. Baseball
makes me
Yankees,
so mad.
Dodgers, Angels, Mets, all 4 teams have spent the most money. All 4 teams are in first place. The Twins are in first place, and I do believe it's the Brewers that are in first place in those other divisions. But on a side note, as an Orioles fan, I really like what I'm watching.
Yeah, the Orioles are very, I don't want to say the word spunky, that might be wrong. They have a flash of something, you know they're building something great. It's just slow.
They've been blown out twice, and that's it. They're 12-17. I mean, they're not winning anything. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the players that are drafted are going to be coming up soon. A couple of their pitchers that they've brought up the last couple of years are playing really well and doing really well.
Means is also going to be out for the year. That hurts.
Yep, but he's not I don't think he's going to be on the team much longer, but I really like what I've been seeing from them. So that's baseball. Again, but baseball,
I don't watch a lot of baseball. Again, I know I used to, but I have a hard time watching baseball, which I would love to see them adopt a cap. Some sort of a cap space for all teams, like the NFL does, like the NBA does, where you can only spend so much that you don't have $500 million players on the same team. What it does is it waters down the sport and makes it unwatchable. Like, no offense, if you're a Marlins fan and you're a diehard, why would you go?
Well, my thing is this: it's when football season starts, any team can make a run. Any team.
Seriously,
it's because of the salary cap and because of how you draft and everything like that. But any team can make the playoffs. Any team. In baseball, you look at it as I knew the Orioles weren't making the playoffs.
Yeah,
the Marlins, these teams are not just why go, but why watch.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not going to go, you're definitely not going to sit at your TV and watch it.
So it just, to me, is one of those things where it's a shame because, again, baseball, I love baseball, but it's too long. I mean, we can talk, in 4 months, we can talk to you about the same 4 teams are going to be in first place.
The problem with baseball is the season's too long. There's no salary cap, and unfortunately, people aren't watching it. They're getting record low viewers, just like the NBA is and just like baseball is. So the 2 least watched sports. I think some American soccer games are getting more views than the NBA playoff games. That's sad. So it tells you that what are you doing to not attract your viewers? I don't know what it is in baseball, but if I guarantee you I grabbed 30 baseball fans saying what would make it better, they'd all say shorter seasons and salary cap. They're the only sport that doesn't have one. And what do you think that does to the lower teams? Like, people are like, well, the lower team should spend more money. They don't have the money to spend. So if you make it an equal $250 million or whatever the NFL does, hey, and MLB, take notes from the NFL. The salary cap works, and it allows you to you can go into a season knowing you didn't have a $500 million player. You can only get one of those. Just like in football, you're not going to have 2 $25 million wide receivers.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think baseball's interested in competitive balance.
I don't think they are at all.
So that's
because
that's
they know when their good markets are good, the sport's good. But unfortunately, when you have
40,000
seat stadiums and no one's there,
they did implement a draft lottery now.
Yes,
so
I like
the worst team doesn't automatically get the number 1 pick, which I like. I think all sports should do that. I know hockey just implemented that also.
Yeah.
But other than that, the NFL draft happened.
Yep.
We did our mock draft. We got the first 2 picks right.
Yep.
I don't know if we, in the
I
middle
think last
there,
year we did better. I think we got like 8 or 9 together, and we were right.
But the big thing is people were really wondering why the Jaguars didn't go with the dynamic player in Hutchinson, and they went with Walker. Detroit is saying that if Hutchinson was the number 1 pick, they would have ran to the podium with Walker. They had both things. And funny thing is in the podcast I said the Lions are going to run to the podium.
Uh-huh.
And they literally did. Like, the pick was in
before the dude got his hat on.
Yes, and I know the NFL already scolded them for not, waiting 15 minutes.
Well, good. I don't want to wait till midnight to see the 24th pick.
But
so.
it's
who you're taking.
The trades. Like we said, there was going to be a lot of trades, and there was a lot of trades. Like the trades, the players changing hands too. Like I looked at it, I was like, this offseason has been the craziest offseason I've ever seen, and it continued in the NFL draft. And that was very shocking to me because I didn't like A.J. Brown getting traded to the Eagles. Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown getting traded to Arizona.
Yep.
And then after the draft, you have DeAndre Hopkins being suspended for 6 games for testing positive for PEDs. You have all that, and it's like, okay. And then you had the draft.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. The Jets and the Giants had a chance to really make a difference.
Yep.
The Jets and the Giants both made a difference on their teams. Now, the Jets have got 3 starters in the first round.
For sure.
Now, I know Williams will not be healthy. No, Williams went to Detroit. So Detroit got 2 starters, but Williams won't be healthy the whole year. But who was the wide receiver that the Jets got?
Was it Jameson? Was the Jameson kid? Let's see.
It was the kid from Ohio State, wasn't it?
I'm looking him up.
All right. It's so I just felt Garrett Wilson. Brees Hall in the second round was a huge pickup. Him and Carter together in that backfield is going to be dynamic.
And they already have a decent O-line. Decent.
Yes, Sauce Gardner, he was their pick. He fell to them.
I thought he was the better of the corners anyways.
See, I liked Stingley better.
Yeah.
But I think it's apples to apples, but it's and then trading back into the first round to get the 4th best edge rusher in the draft, and you may be like, oh, 4th best edge rusher, but when the first 3 are like
are you talking about Jermaine Johnson? He had a 3rd pick. Like, he was a top 10 pick going into that night.
Yes.
Like, he was potentially sorry, I keep going. I don't
No.
Because it's mind-blowing to me the teams that passed on him, that even it wasn't that, like, what was the one guy that got passed on until the 2nd or 3rd round because of behavioral issues, right? This wasn't that. This guy fell, and all the announcers like, this is where he should get picked starting at 18. They're like, Jermaine Walker, or not Jermaine Walker, but he should get picked here. He should get picked here. They're like, Dallas was up. They're like, Dallas needs a tackle, but the only tackles available are 2nd-round picks. This is the top 10 player. Didn't pick him. And I'm like, why are all these teams passing on him? And nobody knows why. But the Jets absolutely stole him. Yes. Now, they didn't have any picks after round 3, but I don't think it mattered.
No. I mean, when you have 4 players on your team where you're going to have a running back by committee with Carter and Hall.
And Hall's a big boy.
And you have a starting running back, a starting cornerback, and a starting defensive
and now a starting wide receiver. Well, he's going to be out this year, yeah.
Wilson?
No, Wilson's
Wasn't he
injured?
No, that was Williams.
Oh, Williams. Sorry, I got him mixed up.
So, by far, the Jets did well.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens did okay. Now, funny story is everybody knows I listen to 105.7 The Fan.
Yeah.
And Vinny Serrano is the 10-2. He's on 10-2 with another guy. I can't remember his name right now. And leading up to the draft, all he did all year, the whole time, was just crap on Linderbaum.
Yeah.
That's all he did. Like, this kid, nope, short arms, doesn't want to play, can't, he's going to get bullied. He's going to get this, I don't want him. Ravens got the Cardinals picked Linderbaum right there.
Yep.
After getting Hamilton, which I thought was a great pick for them. Now all he's saying is how much of like a great pick it was, and I'm like, dude, like I have tape of you. I could have tape of you saying that this kid's not going to be somebody you want.
Linderbaum's going to be top center in the last 15 years drafted by far. He's really special. His grades are high.
He's good.
And I know
but
they say
my thing is this: is when you have players like and defensive tackles that are fat, strong, and fast, he is going to get mauled.
Yeah.
And you can't have a center like that. You have to be able to,
They wouldn't have graded him that high if they didn't think he would do it. Just like with Kenny Pickett's hands, who has the same size as Burrow's, it means nothing.
No,
the short arms don't mean anything.
He's only 200 and something pounds. He's just 10 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah. He's not very big.
No, I mean, and if you think about it, I don't care how strong you are. If
Yeah.
you're only 10 pounds heavier than me and you're going to be trying to push a 300-pound, but I did like their draft.
Yep.
I thought they did well. The Bills, Giants,
Eagles.
Yeah. And I think the Eagles draft, it wasn't really the draft. It was getting A.J. Brown.
And they drafted good players. That's the other thing. Their first 2 picks were fantastic.
So that, like, there is, what I'm looking at. So the winners are the winners. Like they pop out at you.
It's easy.
Okay, like they just stand out. I thought the Lions did well. I thought the Patriots did awful.
Yeah.
I thought the Patriots did awful.
But here's the thing about the Patriots doing awful. I thought the same thing, but then I remembered that's what Bill Belichick does.
Yeah.
He really hasn't had a draft. When was the last time you remember watching a Patriots draft? And I get they picked in the late 20s for the last 20 years. But when have you ever left, if you're a Patriots fan listening, and left a draft went, we killed it. But yet you keep winning Super Bowls. So
yeah.
They know what they're doing. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'm not saying you said they were losers, but they know what they're doing, and it didn't look flashy. Let's just say they had what's called a non-sexy draft. They didn't get the dudes but they filled their position needs. That has to have a boost up, I think.
Right. Quiet draft that isn't being talked about as much as it should be is Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Kansas City had a very good draft. I do believe they got the replacement for Tyreek Hill. Now, he's not Tyreek Hill, but Sky Moore is excellent. I always get his name wrong. Carl Loftus.
I thought he was a top 10 pick.
They got him late. Trent McDuffie's very good. They did very well. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the Packers draft, but everybody says they did well because they got that kid in the second round, that wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Which, yes, I understand he's a good wide receiver, but I did not like the Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt picks.
Yeah,
I felt like which one is it? Which one played for Georgia?
Walker.
Yeah. Questionable on his character. Yeah. Like, very questionable. Like, where you have these issues, and it's like, okay, yeah, you send him to Green Bay, but is Brett Favre in that system really somebody you want him to be around?
Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, what did I say?
You said Brett Favre.
Oh, Brett Favre, even worse.
Brett Favre.
And then, so I did not like their draft. Who to you? So we'll do my division, okay? I'll say my division. I thought all the teams had decent drafts where they got what they needed, and that was the key. They got depth where they needed it, and they got starters where they needed it. Bengals, Browns, Ravens, and Steelers all did well. I don't think I'm not going to say the Ravens won, but at the same time, when you get two stud starters in the first round, and then you get some really late talent at the tight end position, and what it shows me by them not drafting a wide receiver and them getting rid of Hollywood Brown is they are going back to what got Lamar the MVP. Mm-hmm. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. So that's scary, especially if J.K. Dobbins is healthy. But in your division, besides, like, the Eagles crushed it.
The NFC East. So I say by far the Eagles crushed it, and they have to be the favorites in the East right now, but just by what they did. But what they did is they're giving the opportunity to show the world, is Jalen Hurts the guy? Because you just surrounded him with, you have a first-round wide receiver last year, you got A.J. Brown, and you had a pretty much almost a Pro Bowl wide receiver last year. You have a decent tight end in Goddard. Your line is okay. It's getting older in certain positions, but you drafted a decent position. You have a decent running back, and you just bolstered your defense. Mm-hmm. So you've proven yourself that you were only 2 games behind Dallas, and you see that you think you just made the jump, and I think they did too. I think the two, I don't want to say losers in the division, but the teams that I think were not as good is by far, I think, Dallas and Washington. I know that my Washington friends are listening, and they're like, well, we killed the draft. I think they got really good with their wide receiver, but the rest of their position groups, I don't think they drafted anybody that's worth starting right now. They did, like, yes, depth players. Like, don't get me wrong, they got a defensive tackle. Did they need another defensive tackle in the second round when there was other players available? I like Jahan Dotson, but that seemed like a stretch in the first round. Like, what was there was players that could have been of deeper use then. Or you could have traded up and got the wide receiver you're talking about.
Well, there was 2 of them, Burks and Olave were still there.
Still there. So you take Jahan Dotson, who I thought was a second-round pick. Percy Butler's a decent pick. I like the Brian Robinson pick, but in the third round you take another running back. Like, I understand the depth pick, but you have a top 5 running back right now. So you
just re-signed McKissick to be your third down back. So.
What they drafted, they got good players, but it didn't make sense for where they were picked. That's all.
Okay.
Dallas, for me, their draft is going to be hit or miss. And the reason I say that is I'm not being a homer here, but Dallas has a reason that they're really good at drafting. They picked the players they knew they wanted. They're the only team to have a first-round draft pick on their Tyler Smith tackle pick. He has a lot of penalties in college, but he's huge. And he didn't allow a single sack all year, his senior year. And neither did the other guy we drafted at guard. He didn't allow a single sack. The Sam Williams pick in the second round, love that pick. His stats are equal to Aiden Hutchinson's their senior year. That doesn't mean I'm saying he's Aiden Hutchinson. I'm just saying Aiden Hutchinson has that kind of morale to him where he's the number 2 pick. But I'm like, there's players with equal stats. The thing with me, and I'm just going to say this because I am a Dallas fan, so I'm allowed to do it, is for me, sorry, I'm trying to find, there they are. Every position they needed, they filled, if that makes sense, right? So they got their tackle they wanted, and they got a defensive end in Sam Williams, who I actually thought was equal to Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson, I think is his name. He's really talented. You got a wide receiver in Jalen Tolbert, who they wanted, who they were dying to get this kid. They got a tight end in Jake Ferguson, who's weird. I think that's a weird pick because the dude only has like 40 catches in 4 years. He's more of a blocking tight end, which doing that tells me one thing. You want to run the ball more because Tyler Smith is a rushing tackle. And then in North Dakota State in the 5th round, you took Matt Waletzko. He's also mostly a run blocking. So you grab 3 players that are run blocking. That tells me what you're trying to do. You bring in 2 linebackers. Again, I don't know those guys really well. One is LSU dude, played with Jabril Cox, and then another defensive tackle. It says they gave him a C for day 1 grade because Tyler Smith wasn't a first-round pick, in quotations. But I would say right now, I think the Dallas Cowboys have the potential to have the 2nd best draft in the NFC East. But looking at it right now, they're 3rd behind the Giants.
Okay.
But again, Dallas knows what they're doing. They're one of the smartest drafting teams like the Patriots are. You look at the Patriots draft, go, what are they doing? I did the same thing with Dallas pick. I was pissed we didn't take that defensive end. But you got a tackle, and you needed a tackle because we got rid of 2. So that would be my guess. I would say Eagles 1 because of the Smith trade. Not the Smith trade, Brown.
Yeah.
Giants 2nd. I still think the Giants have a lot of holes to fill, and I still think they're going to find a way to finish last. But this is really good draft for them. And then Dallas, and then I think Washington, because I just feel like every pick they had, they were just like 1 or 2 picks off where they should have been. I feel like they just reached for a couple guys they could have gotten in the next round. So
Okay.
That's me.
All right. Any player that was picked that you were like, wow, that was a great pick?
The Jets, 25. Jermaine Johnson.
Okay.
Thought that was a solid pickup. Who else am I thinking of? I'm trying to think of the first round. Again, I'm going to be the one to say it. I think the Steelers with Kenny Pickett. I think they made a solid choice taking the better quarterback. Okay. And there was 2 more picking before Willis, so I think they probably made a good choice because wasn't Corral and Ritter both picked before Willis still.
Yeah.
So I think they made the right choice. They have a day 1 starter, and I guarantee you he probably will be, and we'll see what they do. I thought that was a bit of a I'm not saying it was a bit of a steal, but I think they got the guy they wanted. I'm surprised to see him go that early. I thought Sauce Gardner was the better corner. I think the Jets got 2 picks, 2 players that people didn't think were the best, and I think they are, Jermaine Johnson and him.
Okay. I'm going to tell you this right now. The 83rd pick in the draft is a steal for the Eagles.
Who was it?
Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean, yeah.
I don't understand why he fell. I think Sky Moore to the Chiefs in the 2nd round.
Sky Moore's talented.
Yep. I think the cornerback the Bengals got in the 2nd round, Britt, last name Britt, is a beast. I think that he bolsters that secondary with their safety that they took in the 1st round that also plays slot, nickel. He plays anywhere in the secondary. I think that was a smart pick because both your safeties that are on the roster are free agents next year. And you don't know if Bates is going to sign the franchise tag. If he doesn't and he sits out, you have somebody right there. So, but I thought that the Ravens getting that kid from Connecticut in the 2nd round was big too. Jones is his last name. I think he's a stud. He played for Connecticut, so nobody really paid attention to him.
Travis Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a solid late 1st round pick.
Yes.
The defensive tackle. So getting him in the 3rd was big.
So those were there.
They also got Charlie Kohler, the tight end from Iowa State, who I thought was a top 2 tight end in the league, and they took him 2 rounds after we took ours. Yep. And he's a pass-catching tight end.
But overall, I
can't think of any teams that drastically lost the draft. And honestly, I know this sounds weird. I didn't think Houston's was that great.
I thought Houston just did what they had to do.
I think they just took dudes at every position, right? But like,
But they just got quality players who they wanted. I really like Lovie Smith as a coach too.
yeah. I mean, maybe the Colts.
No, I'm not mad at the Colts either.
Their first pick was a wide receiver in the second round. So they didn't really get a first-round grade pick and then another tight end. They got the Renard Branham dude, that tackle that was everybody thought was a first-round
from
pick. So I
Central
guess that's
Michigan.
solid.
So
Jaguars, I mean, they got Devin Lloyd, but...
But what came out the other day, which it's the rankings for fantasy football.
Great.
Post-draft rankings for fantasy football. So it all came out, and they're going to redo their rankings
100 times.
But the top 5. So here are the top 5 quarterbacks, okay? And I want to see if you disagree with any of these 5, okay?
You're going from the first overall to 5th?
Yeah. Okay. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
To round out the top 10 is Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Disagree with 90% of that list.
Okay.
I think Joe Burrow should be in the top 5 over Kyler Murray.
Okay.
For fantasy. I don't think Dak should be 9th on that list. I think he should be at least 6th or 7th. And Tom Brady shouldn't be that low either. What was he, 7th?
He was 8th.
Yeah.
And you have Stafford, Rodgers, Watson, 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah, I would say the top 10 they have is pretty decent, but you got to put Herbert up there. You got to put the people that sling the ball. They're going to have 4,000 yards, but then I think in that middle tier, 5 to 8, you have the quarterbacks that can use a little bit of the legs. That's where you'd put the Kyler, you'd put the Lamars, you'd put the Jalen Hurts towards the end of there. But I don't even know if Dak's going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but his stat sheet has proven he's always top 5 since he's been in the league, except for his second year. So I think the track history is there. He's probably going to do it again. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say 9th. I think if you get Dak Prescott as quarterback 9, you're winning your draft. No, I think Burrow not being in the top 5 is hugely disrespectful. Huge. I mean, I'm not saying that because you have a Bengals shirt on. There's a Bengals banner behind you.
There's one in front of me
behind
too.
me.
Yeah.
I think you had him. They had him at what, 7?
6.
Yeah, but I would say 5. I think he's over Kyler Murray. I know Kyler Murray has weapons, but he ain't gonna have Hopkins for 6 weeks.
Right.
That's huge. I mean, you got one of the most pass catching wide receivers that catch the most volume, not on your team for 6 weeks.
Yep. Rodgers takes a huge blow by losing Adams. Watson is an interesting name. If he doesn't get suspended, I still don't know who he's going to throw the ball to in Cleveland. So,
I get they have Cooper, but
that's a run first team. Uh-huh. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I found that top 5.
Well, we think they're a run first team. Who knows if they change up their thing because they have 2 running backs that can catch the ball.
Yeah.
They both. So yeah. I have no idea.
But I was shocked with Jackson and Murray.
Yeah.
That high. Especially since they didn't finish in the top 5 last year.
No.
I think Murray finished in the top 10, but Lamar obviously didn't because
he was injured. But even when he was healthy, he wasn't having a good season.
No.
Before he got out, I think he had equal interceptions to touchdowns.
Yes.
So something he might have had more. It wasn't a good year. If you add up all of his turnovers, it was more than his touchdowns were.
Right.
So
so then it is. Let me get to running backs because running back, surprisingly, in my opinion, running back is really deep with solid players. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the top 22. Mm-hmm. Okay. Elijah Mitchell is number 22 on this list. Uh-huh. I don't see why he's that low. He proved he was the lead back in San Francisco this past year. They didn't bring it back, Mostert. Mm-hmm. He's going to have the lead back. They're only going to run the ball more with Trey Lance at quarterback. So I was shocked there. But here's what's your who do you think's in the top 5?
Top 5 going into the season?
Yes.
Oh shoot. I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm trying to think of all the starting running backs. I'm just going to name a few in no particular order because it's going to be hard to do that. I'm going to put Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon, I think, should be in there in top 5, in my opinion. I think he's going to get used a lot. I'm just going through the list of divisions right now. Oh, shoot. Looking right at his face. Colts dude.
Jonathan
Taylor. Thank you. I think you'd probably have to put Chubb in there.
Okay.
Green Bay.
Aaron Jones.
Thank you. I think I'm just naming a bunch of older dudes, but there's other studs in there that are going to pop off out of nowhere. Not putting Zeke in there. Not putting anybody from the NFC. Washington.
Gibson.
He was top 5 last year.
Okay.
So CMC would be right on the edge if he's healthy. I mean, who
Okay.
who knows what you're going to get? But here's the other thing. I didn't name all the dudes who I think are going to do good. Like, what about the dude that got injured for the Ravens last year, running back? What about ETN this year? Like, there's a lot of running backs that were unhealthy last year. And then you go to the Jets. You go to all these teams. What is Saquon going to do? What is Zeke going to do? So,
all right. You named Nick Chubb.
Yep.
He's number 14.
Wow.
You named Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
He's number 16.
Wow.
And Zeke is 20.
Yeah, I'm not
J.K.
surprised.
Dobbins is 21.
Yeah.
All right. Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, clearly.
Austin Eckler.
I forgot about Henry. Sorry. Yep, Eckler. Okay.
Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Najee Harris.
Okay.
All right. Rounding out the top 10. Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, and DeAndre Swift.
Fournette's a 9?
Yep. They got rid of Jones.
Yeah, I guess
so
you're right.
he's,
Bell cow again. Good for him.
But Aaron Jones, 12. James Conner's 13. Javonte Williams is 11. David Montgomery is 15. Cam Akers, 17. Saquon, 18. Josh Jacobs, 19. And then you said Breece Hall and Travis Etienne, 23 and 24.
I'm going to make a funny joke here, and I'm not being a homer, but the fact that they still have Saquon above Zeke mind blows me. You said Zeke was 20, and they have Saquon at 18. Saquon hasn't played in a decade.
Yep. So,
Okay.
but
still, no. See, all the again, I apologize. I missed Dalvin Cook and all those names. If I had a list of all the starting running backs, I know there's so many.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember, especially when you've worked all day. But like, there's so many solid running backs that you literally need to be running back drafting heavy and get as many dudes as you can because.
But here's the thing.
Get them
after. Say 13. I mean, even because Dylan's they're gonna split.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 split.
It's not gonna be 50-50, but I think Jones is gonna be better catching the ball than what people are gonna say that he is. But Chubb is so low because of Hunt, and you also don't know what that offense is gonna be with Watson. Zeke, Pollard's down near 30. So they're thinking that's going to be a strictly – and I think Saquon's that far down because of injuries.
Yep.
Shocking that CMC is so high still. The one I was really shocked that is so high, but you look at it, he had the carries. They're going to use him again, overuse him again. Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Being top 5.
Yeah.
But it's – I mean, that
and they did bolster their line, and then you have a young quarterback – and he's going to want to use his running back.
If you have 2 of those top 10 in fantasy, you're in good shape. If you have 1, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Because those others are very good running backs.
It's going to be interesting to see how summer camps go and how crazy injuries, like last year with J.K. Dobbins or the year before last year with ETN were all preseason injuries or summer camp injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see how those play out. But the running back position is getting deeper. And here's the thing too, is all the unknowns, right? People know your team better than anybody, just like I know my team better than most, and you see trends. What I didn't see in this draft, at least for Dallas, is the reason why I'm higher on Zeke than I was last year. And I wasn't high on him. I had him because he was already on my team, but I'm higher on him because people are like, well, he was injured last year. He was injured all of last year. He had orthoscopic knee at the end of the offseason to fix the PCL injury he had. You draft 2 rushing offensive linemen and a pass blocking tight end. That shows me when you didn't draft a running back either, a third one just for depth. You don't even have a third one on the roster besides a fullback that's been on the practice squad since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the joke I always make is you didn't bring in any running backs and you brought in 3 run blockers, especially one being a tight end who's essentially a 12 personnel. It shows me that they want to run the ball, whether it's Zeke or whether it's Pollard. They're going to run the ball a lot more. And I think it's because you don't have Cooper now. it shows me you're not throwing the ball as much as you did, and I think that's the best thing for them to do. So I'm not saying Zeke, I think 20 is perfect for him, but I think he has the potential to be 15, 14, but I don't think he's a top 10 back anymore. Okay. But I think being at 20 with Pollard right behind him, solid to get both of those guys on your team.
Right.
Same thing with Chubb. If there was no Kareem Hunt, Chubb would be the number one back in football. Easily in fantasy. In fantasy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's there because he gets so much volume, but again, he was injured last year. Who's he going to be this year?
Right.
But now with no wide receivers, he's probably going to get so much volume, dude.
Right. So wide receiver, deep.
Oh,
wide
receiver so deep.
Number 25 is Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have Darnell Mooney, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin are 20 to 25. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson.
Where's the first rookie?
Jalen Waddle, A.J. Brown, and T. Higgins are 11 through 25. Okay, T. Higgins is number 11. There is no rookie. You're looking at Michael Thomas, 26, Brown, Elijah Moore, Sutton, Renfro, Bateman, Lockett, Davis, Schuster, Smith. Devontae Smith is 35. Drake London.
Jets.
Atlanta
picked him, yep. So I'll say this. So you're talking wide receiver.
Treylon Burks for Tennessee is 40.
So let's just start there. 35. Their wide receiver 35 was the first one, and that was London, right? The USC kid. If you're drafting in this draft, let's just go back based off of history. Jefferson.
Yep.
Worth your overall pick. People took him over people of Julio. They took him over the likes of Antonio Brown. Worth it. CeeDee Lamb. Worth it to draft. I'm talking when the years they were rookies. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. What other wide receivers can you name that were really solid picks? Even last year, there was rookie wide receiver Devontae Smith, solid pick.
Waddle.
Rookie wide receivers that are in the first, second round,
Waddle,
always.
Chase.
So, like, if you're me, let's just use a mock hypothetical draft here in this draft room. First round pick, you take a running back. Second round pick, you take a running back. Let's say third round pick, you want to take. But I'm just using hypothetical.
Hypothetical though, I'll take wide receiver probably 15 to 1 over running back 15 to 20.
But let's just say the draft went well and there's still a top 10 running back on the board there. Would you take another one? So let's just say, but I'm going to use an example what the draft is like right now.
Yeah.
Let's say you go running back, and then you're like, you know what? I still like wide receiver. Kelsey's still sitting there. Probably won't be, but let's say he kind of could be. You take Kelsey. Your wide receivers you could pick from are potentially who? CeeDee Lamb? Fourth round? Maybe. Michael Gallup? Maybe Drake London.
Gallup's way down.
But that's kind of what I'm saying is the wide receiver position's so deep. You've seen people in your leagues win leagues with rookie wide receivers. So you don't have to reach into that top 10, top 15 when you know Garrett Wilson could have a 1,000-yard year. You know Drake London could have a 1,000-yard year. Does that make sense? Because you got to remember the people that took CeeDee Lamb and the people that took Van Jefferson his first year, he had decent yards. The people that took the Vikings kid, I forgot his name already so fast. You draft one of these wide receivers in your 5th, 6th, 7th round, that's a steal because rookie wide receivers in the first, second round of the NFL draft have proven to be successful in fantasy. Look at Jamar Chase. He was like a 7th round pick that year. And look at him.
Just so you know, the first Green Bay wide receiver is 49.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard.
And you know what's funny? I would take one of the rookies at a late round flyer, and I bet you they'd turn into something. You know what's also interesting to me? The Chiefs wide receiver situation. That rookie. Why not take a flyer on him? You know they're going to get receiving because they need it. That's kind of where I look at with my last few drafts.
I think with this is I think they're so many wide receivers, but I think you need to see what's happening in camp and what's happening in preseason.
Exactly.
Before you say, okay, yes.
And that's kind of the point I'm making for everybody listening. The point I'm making is you see how deep the wide receivers are, and you saw the CeeDee Lamb, and you saw these rookie wide receivers when they were drafted in 3rd, 4th, 5th round in fantasies. They became wide receiver ones within weeks. In your fantasy leagues, not on a team. So if you can get let's say you got Drake London, and let's say your first overall, you ended up getting, let's say the wide receiver they just got for the Eagles. I always forget his name, A.J. Brown. Let's say you get A.J. Brown with your 2nd round pick, and you get a Drake London, and then you somehow get another guy. I wouldn't be mad about that if you got a decent running back or two and a tight end.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Is I'm saying you don't need to panic to get the top wide receivers.
Right.
You know the rookies are going to get a ton of volume.
Right.
A lot of volume.
So I was shocked T. Higgins was so high.
Yeah, that's.
But then I looked at it. 1,000 yards his rookie year, 1,000 yards his second year.
Yeah.
Quiet 1,000 yards, but 1,000 yards. Okay, but the top 10, I'm going to go 10 to 1. Okay? Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs. That's 6 to 10. Okay? So now you've got Deebo Samuel at 5, Devontae Adams at 4, Jamar Chase at 3, Justin Jefferson at 2, and Cooper Kupp at 1.
Interesting. That's a weird.
I would
Look at the young guys, though.
Exactly. The young guys, though Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, third year and second year. But it's almost consensus. It's consensus too, because Cooper Kupp was consensus number 1. Between Chase and Jefferson, it was 2 and 3. They were given those numbers. I wasn't shocked that Chase was that high. I think Chase is only going to get better. Jefferson is a stud. By far a stud. I was shocked that Deebo was number 5 still, even though he's staying in. He's come out and said he wants to stay in San Francisco.
I just don't know what Trey Lance is going to do with that offense. That's the thing.
That's the thing there. And then Devontae Adams.
Are we sure he's the same Devontae Adams from Green Bay? Like Derek Carr is not the same quarterback as Aaron Rodgers is.
And if you look at history,
they called balls together in college. That was a decade ago.
But if you look at the history of a Green Bay wide receiver leaving, that was unbelievable. And then going somewhere else, getting a big contract, they never panned out. So, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, things like that, like they never panned out. Now, Devontae Adams is a different. Yeah,
and Randall Cobb was in his early 30s when he left, pretty much late. He was like 28 or 9. So.
But that's I can't argue. I mean, honestly, I can't argue with any of that, to be honest with you. It's all dependent on quarterback play.
Yeah. I think what you have to go with here is you have to go with what you already know. That sounds really dumb. You have to go with what you already know. I think you need to go with what's comfortable. I think you need to go with Cooper Kupp, obviously. I think you need to go with the Kirk Cousins with Jefferson. I think you need to go with Joe Burrow. I know it sounds dumb a little later around. I think you need to go with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. You need to go with the quarterbacks that are together with the same wide receiver. I'm not saying you don't go after. But if you have the 4th or 5th pick and the 4th or top 4 or 5 wide receivers are gone, do you go after Devontae Adams knowing he's with Derek Carr? Or do you go with CeeDee Lamb knowing Gallup's going to be out for the first 4 weeks and it's only CeeDee Lamb and he's already proven that he can beat certain corners in coverage, right? So it's like that's kind of the opportunity you're going to take. Do you go after the flyer on Tyreek Hill? You know he's talented. Mm-hmm. But Tua is not Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So that's kind of my thing is, can Tua get the ball that deep without it going to the safety's hands? So that's there's a lot of question marks, and I don't even think Camp's going to answer your questions. I really don't, because a lot of these players aren't going to play in the preseason. So it just comes down to, I think what people should do in the draft, it's what I've always done, familiarity. Familiarity is always key. Mm-hmm. I think it's super important that I think you should 100% draft Allen Lazard over the rookie they just drafted because of the familiarity. Now, by the end of the year, you may sound dumb because that rookie pops off. But
the thing that Chandler and I talked about last year and the end of the year before, we've been talking about it like extensively, is the names that you've trusted for years are no longer there anymore.
Yeah.
And so now you really have to understand not just football, but you have to understand who's there.
Yep.
And like in the League of Extraordinary Legends league, I have 2 Bengals as my keepers.
Yeah.
Not because I want to, because I'm a homer, but because I have Joe Mixon, who's a top 10 running back, and I have Jamar Chase, who's a top 5 wide receiver
in fantasy. Yeah.
I don't see a scenario where now maybe if I get offered a high pick for one of them, maybe
for Mixon,
it would be Mixon.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a chance I'm getting rid of Chase. Mm-hmm. I mean, he won me the championship with I think he got 70 points in the championship game. But it's I love fantasy so much that I follow these rankings all the time. But what I do is I go deep. Yeah. I look at those players, 35 to 50.
It's interesting
that you may not know about.
Yep.
That I'm like, okay, getting the chance. Like a name that for wide receiver that's interesting to me for the first half of the season is Russell Gage, going to a new team, but Godwin isn't. I don't think Godwin's going to be ready for the beginning of the season. They signed Gage. Can he get that rapport with Tom Brady? That's something you're looking at. Sky Moore with, but then you got Pringles there.
Yeah.
You've got Herndon's there.
Yeah.
Are one of those guys going to step up?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be the Travis Kelce show?
Yeah.
And obviously tight end to me, if you don't have one of the first 6 to 8,
you're done.
You better have top 5 players at running back and wide receiver and multiples.
Yeah.
But it's Kelce, Andrews, Pitts, Waller, Kittle. That's the top 5. Hawkinson's number 6. Schultz is number 7. Goddard 8. Ertz 9. Gesicki 10.
I think it's done after 8.
Yeah.
I think Ertz and Gesicki are the 2. You're like,
Yes.
if you got one of them in a 10-team league, you're done. It's not worth it.
The name I really like in there is Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
And Noah Fant.
Yeah.
If Drew Lock is the starting quarterback for that team, Noah Fant is a name to watch because they love each other.
Yeah.
Lock, it's his security blanket. It was his security blanket in Denver.
Yeah.
So that's just some
I will
interesting
probably say
names.
he won't be the starter, but I think it would help for Fant for sure.
Yeah.
I think if you are drafting Fant, that's a situation you need to monitor because you have 2 quarterbacks there. You have one who played with Fant, and you have the other who's been in the system for 5 years. And it's going to come down to trust because we know. But to bring up Seattle for a minute, Pete Carroll purposely didn't draft a quarterback for a reason. He likes the quarterbacks next year better and thinks with the team he has, he knows he already said they're not competing. He's locked up for 3 more years. They want to keep him there, so why not see what you got with the guys you have? You drafted the line around these guys. You brought in a running back. You drafted defense, so they brought every position but quarterback in. You have a 30-year-old quarterback that's been there for 5 years who can throw the ball flat-footed 80 yards, and then you have the kid from Denver who maybe gets his shot, and you're there with his tight end. So it's an interesting subject to watch. I will say that I think the value for DK goes up if Geno's the starter, but I think the value of Fant goes up if I always forget his stupid name. Lock's value goes up more. Not value, sorry. Fant's the value goes up because he loves throwing to Fant. He did it in Denver. So again, these names are interesting. DK Metcalf, a super interesting name. Decent fantasy wide receiver. He puts up numbers.
Yeah.
But does that change based off the quarterback?
Yeah, because you don't have Huckett there anymore, which is Wilson.
Yeah.
Which I just run around because I have no offensive line. I'm going to huck it as far as I can.
And now they have an offensive line, and you have a quarterback. And again, Geno's old. I'm not here defending him. He's an older dude. But you have somebody who
you're
can.
Defending
No,
Geno.
but you have somebody who can throw the ball.
He's scared to throw the ball, though.
When the 3 games he played, when Russell was out, those 4 games, he was hit more than any other quarterback in the league. They had no line. I know, but I'm saying if
I'm just saying when you have the yips as a quarterback to throw the ball, it's. But it's those things like the fantasy thing is going to change here and there
a lot.
You'll have a major. It happens every year, and it's sad, but major injuries.
Yep.
But I just want to do a couple shout outs here for everything that's going on. One shout out to Nate and Haley.
Yep.
Their baby girl Cece was born the other day.
Yep.
She's doing well. She is home, and both parents, I believe, are doing well. They might not be sleeping, but they're doing well.
Yeah, I stopped. Mine's almost 4. I'm still not sleeping.
Yeah,
it's fine.
She's adorable. So congratulations to
Congrats,
Nate
guys.
and Haley.
Happy for you guys.
And then we've got Logan and Caitlin just announced that they're having a baby boy.
Yep, they're having their second. Yep.
So congratulations to them. So that's big. I guess that's why Logan's been so busy. He hasn't opened up or done the fantasy drafts yet.
Yeah.
He was busy making a baby, I guess. So, and then Mike Brennan.
Yep.
He's a friend of the show. He's been on once with us.
Yep. Probably last year. It was one of our first years we did this.
You know, he's a singer-songwriter.
Yep.
His latest single, Lately, is out on the radio.
Lately, it's been on the radio.
Which is a huge thing for him. He does a lot of stuff up in New England.
Yep.
You know, and Massachusetts mainly. He was in Nashville for a long time. But also Michael Paul Brennan Productions is going to be doing a new intro, outro for us.
Yep.
Danny Johnson did the original.
Yep. We appreciate
we've had it
that.
for a couple years, and we're looking for a change there.
Yep.
And Michael said that he would do it for us.
Yep.
So really excited for that. And you know, it's just some big things happening for a lot of people.
Yep.
I mean, I started a new job. I'm out the door at 5 o'clock every morning, and I'm home by 12:30, 1 o'clock. So it's really nice right now.
Can't beat that.
You know. I mean, it's been good because that means on Sundays in the season, you know, I'll be able to watch every football game.
That's why I changed my job so I can be off on Sundays to watch football and racing, man.
Yep. It's so those things are going on. You know, I didn't know if you had a shout out to give to anybody, but it's just kind of interesting because, you know, this whole thing, we had an Eagles fan on. We had Joey on.
Yep.
And then the Eagles went and crushed the draft.
Yep.
I don't know. Is that like coincidence or is this just, you know,
I don't know.
You know, so, and we need some more AFC fans on this show too, because I'm sick of the NFC East.
Yeah.
You know, no offense
I'm sick
to
of
you
your
guys.
Bengals all the time. All you do is talk about them.
Hey, you know, I don't talk about them as much as you talk about the Cowboys.
I don't know. Today was you talked about Bengals a lot today.
No, I didn't.
I'm just kidding.
Only because my players are in the top
know.
5 of the, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
So,
I understand.
yeah.
I also think that we got to get Mike on again because he is a New England fan.
Yes.
That's another AFC fan.
Yep.
We could get Ravens fans on, but they're kind of delusional, so probably not.
Yeah. I don't know if you talk to Bray still.
Could talk to Bray, see what he's doing.
Or we could see if Brandon wants to come on again, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. We'd have to get Brandon on between his Yankees games.
Yeah, you know. But it's, you know, but other than that, it's the off season for football.
Yep.
It's, you know, if you're a fan of baseball, let us know. We can talk about it. I'm excited about the Orioles.
Yeah.
I'm also excited that the Red Sox are in last place.
It's always great.
You know, but it's if you're a fan of baseball but you don't have a team, honestly, check out the Orioles because their young players are so fun to watch.
Yeah, just in time to be traded away for more future picks.
Not right now, no,
because
because
they're all locked up.
Adley Rushman's coming up. Grayson Rodriguez is coming up soon. Adley will be up in the next week.
He's going to sell so many jerseys.
And but it's an exciting time for Orioles fans because the potential's there.
And again, most of our show, what we do a lot of is we've always done a lot of football, a lot of NFL football, fantasy football. We even do a little bit of college. And we like to focus around football because honestly, we only have so much time to talk. And during the season, there's so much. Like right now, we don't always record every week. We just do it when we have lots of content. So like Mark said, if you have somebody who you do have a basketball fan, one of you listening, and you do want to talk NBA, let's talk NBA. I mean, again, that's why I posted a question on Facebook that none of y'all answered. Thank you. But like, that's why I posted the question. Like, I don't care if you want to talk golf. I can take an hour and look something up. What do you want to talk about? Like, it's the off season. We give people the chance to give us some questions and give us hard questions. Make us think. I mean, like I said, until the football season starts, once football starts at preseason, it's going to be busy around here. We have a lot of notes and we don't play around.
Yeah,
if you're a special guest during the football season, we love you.
We'll be doing our preseason, you know, rankings for the divisions and what we think soon.
Yeah.
I'll say soon, but probably, you know, once
July
preseason.
Once summer camps are over,
starts,
probably.
You know, it is May right now.
We usually do our preseason rankings and stuff like that. Usually, we did it last year, the first week of preseason.
Okay.
So we did it once teams got through summer camps and we saw all the torn Achilles during preseason, all that stuff. Yeah. Usually first, second, or week, we did what we thought. And that just, I think it's way too early now. I mean, you still have no idea if T.Y. Hilton signed somewhere or what, you know, there's so many moves. So.
You know, other than that, Logan, open the leagues, get this draft lottery set up, please, because we need to start trading draft picks.
It's not like the baby's born right now. Like,
I know.
Come on.
Come on. You have time. You have 5 minutes in your day to set this thing up. So let's go.
All right.
Other than that, everybody, congratulations to everybody again. And see you soon.
See you guys.